Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about 5 things I really dislike to source. I won't say hate, and why, and any exceptions. So stay tuned.
Welcome to the Reseller Niche Podcast, a show for e-commerce buyers and sellers where we investigate unique items being bought and sold and show you how research equals knowledge equals profit.
Welcome back. So I've been buying and selling things for years in lots and lots of different categories and or niches, whatever you want to call them. And today I picked 5 things that I personally didn't find that much success with, and why possibly I didn't, and then why I don't like to sell them. And there are a few exceptions to these rules, so I'm going to go into that too. And I know, just disclaimer, I'm sure plenty of you guys have been able to sell these items, pick these items, source these items, and they've all done really, really well for you. So this is very specific to me. And I'd like, actually, if anyone has sold these items with success, and I'm sure you have, I'd love to hear about it. If you want to leave us a voice message at our anchor page, so please do. I'd love to hear any disagreements, comments, whatever. Leave us comments. All right, let's get straight into it. Number one, this is probably pretty common. I'm not a fan is an understatement. I really do not like to sell children's clothing or baby clothing specifically, especially used, and especially on eBay. I just have not had success with it. You always see them at garage sales. You see sometimes show up at a garage sale and it's all baby clothing, toys, strollers, that type of stuff. The type of stuff you can't even donate, actually, unfortunately. A lot of baby stuff you can't donate. Like you can't donate car seats or strollers, I believe, or anything. Actually, I was at Goodwill donating today. You can't donate anything that they said that a baby would fit in. That's how they described it. Like I had a baby, like a barrier, like that would go between the bed to help make sure the baby doesn't fall off the bed, like a baby gate. They didn't take that, even though it was brand new nearly. And I had like a baby bath foam thing. They didn't take that either. So I was just trying to donate that. Anyways, so I don't like picking that stuff up at all. Even though I have 2 kids, I have tons of kids' clothing, baby clothing, shoes, all of that stuff. You can sometimes donate the clothing, which is basically what I do, but I don't really try and sell it at all. I have a ton of it too, so I try and give it to other nieces, nephews, that kind of thing, if possible, but never really try to sell it. One thing I would say as an exception to this is that with me, I've found a lot of success away from eBay, but on Amazon, especially new in box stuff with kids and baby stuff. What I mean by baby stuff, I mean everything from to do with baby, like feeding babies, clothing babies, toys, these little doohickeys that you get. They're like toys and like to distract them while they're eating, that kind of stuff. I found a lot of them over the years that are really low rank, really light, really easy to send in Amazon. Some of them have become gated recently, but so my exception to the rule is selling this stuff on Amazon FBA if possible, especially if it's low rank stuff. Test it out, make sure you're not gated first and all that kind of stuff. But especially now during COVID, one thing I've noticed is that the necessities, obviously food and anything, like diapers and food related, feed related, formula related, any of that kind of stuff does really, really well. So check and see your account, see if you're, able to do that, and then, check with that, because that is my exception to the rule. Amazon FBA for baby type stuff. So moving on, number 2 on my list of things that I don't like to sell is individual or loose postcards and what do you call it? Ephemera. I think that's the word for it, ephemera, which is basically like old pictures. And I believe it actually refers to old vintage paper. I've never personally had success with unframed and loose postcards and ephemera. It's just sat for me forever. I don't know why. I've had decent success with framed pictures, especially older ones. I had some of like farm equipment. It was a picture of like a cow or a bull on farm equipment and some random farm in the Midwest. That sold for like $100, like maybe a year ago. But individual pictures, I have a ton of them, individual postcards, and I have a ton of them. I was never able to really sell. Personally for me, and I know there's some really good postcard YouTube channels. I forget the guy's name. I was watching one the other day. I just personally don't have the experience with it, and I don't have the knowledge of which cards and which pictures to pick specifically. And I do know about a few niches. I won't go into it because I don't want to say the wrong thing, but for me, it didn't work. I'll give you an example. I think I put this on Instagram. I sold a lot for about $400 of postcards. It was like over 1,000 postcards. Individually, I'd been trying to sell this lot for, I don't know, 18 months or so. And I'd sold maybe 5. Out of those 5 that I sold, and these were postcards, they varied from, cities and pictures and landscapes. Anyways, I sold 5 total. 2 of them I had returns on. The most expensive one individually I was able to sell was $9.99, including shipping and including the little cardboard like thing. So that cost, I had to go on, I had all these cardboard backing things so they don't get folded over and bent in the mail. So just for me, I thought it was a great idea at first. I like learning about new stuff. I like the history of it. I might learn about it first if I'm going to go back into that and then, find out what's good, what's not. But for now, if I get postcards or ephemera, I'm going to lot them up. Big lots. They will probably sit like that last one I said is about 18 months. It sold as a big lot. But other than that, I haven't had success. So that would be my exception. If you get postcards and ephemera, I would recommend lotting them up unless you are really going to have a lot of, you need, I would guess, thousands of them in your inventory to make it worthwhile to sell that type of thing. Otherwise, it might be something that you're sitting on for not very much money. Moving on, number 3 on this list of items I don't really like to sell, Happy Meal toys. And I don't know, I don't really care if they're from McDonald's, Burger King, or Jack in the Box, Carl's Jr., or wherever, Taco Bell, wherever. For me, they don't really sell well. Excuse me. I think we've all seen them. You can get them for like a quarter, 10 cents, 5 cents a piece, sealed. They're vintage a lot of times, 20, 30 years old. They look great because sometimes they'll have like awesome characters, Disney characters, movie characters, sporting, even like you can get like basketball figure type things. So they look really cool. But for me, I've never really been able to sell them for a good deal of profit. You can sell them, but it's minimal profit. And I have 2 exceptions to this rule, which I'll go through in a bit. But I'll give you my backstory. My biggest flop, it wasn't a crazy flop. I bought probably 250 to 300 of these things sealed. They're all mid to late 90s to early 2000s. I'd say 80, 90% McDonald's, and then Burger King, Jack in the Box, Carl's Jr. mixed in there as well. And I think 99.9% sealed and in good condition, like the bags weren't even worn or anything like that. It was a lot. It was a giant tub. Anyways, I thought, 5 cents a piece, it can't go wrong. I sold a handful, and they really sat. I mean, it was like free shipping, $5-10 a piece. For months and months and months, they sat. And eventually, I ended up selling whatever I had left over. I think it was close to 250 I had left over. And I think I just ended up maybe breaking even. I mean, a little bit more than that. I mean, I got 5 cents a piece, but not anything like what I was thinking I was going to get out of these. I was assuming that I was going to make tons of money, 250, 300 of these, 5 cents a piece, sell them at least, $5 a piece, $10 a piece. Sounds good. In reality, it wasn't. So I do have two exceptions to this. Mainly how I broke even were there were some in there, and I didn't have a lot of the cool, super cool ones that sell. But I did have one that I found out about, or two actually. I had a lot of Toy Story ones in there from, I don't know if it was Toy Story 2 or 3, maybe even Toy Story, the original Toy Story. Those seem to do pretty well. I saw 2 or 3 of those, and about 10, $15 a piece, nothing crazy. The ones that really sold immediately were something called Universal Monsters. It was like the Mummy. It was like a vampire type, a Frankenstein type one. There was like 5 or 6 different characters, something like that. I didn't have all of them, but I had like 4 of them, I think. They all sold. And they all sold fast, about $15 a piece. But they sold fast is what I noticed, more than any of the other ones. There are some other ones. I'm blanking on the name of it. There's a doll one that I think it's from the late 90s. Supposedly that sells well. Beanie Babies, I've heard. I was going to put that on my list, but as a side note, I would be very careful of those. But Universal Monsters, that's one to watch out for. Even if it's a Happy Meal toy or regular toy, people love that kind of stuff. And it was good for me. At least I sold some, right? And then the other one that I didn't do because mine were older, but I know people that do, as an exception to the rule of not buying Happy Meal toys, is if you can get them when the first week they come out, and there's usually, I think 6 of them, 8 of them, sometimes up to 12 of them. If you can get the entire set fast and get it listed really fast, immediately, then that works a lot of times, especially if it's a new movie. A kid's movie, obviously, and then something that's hot right now. That is something that's really hot for a very short amount of time, though. So you got to do it fast and get them out of there fast. And another thing that I've noticed is with mine, Toy Story was doing well because I think the newer Toy Story had come out. So if it's a sequel to a movie that had an older one and you have that older version, like mine was like Toy Story 2 and like Toy Story 4 was out or whatever it was. That works as well because obviously people are looking for the older one, and if it's new in box, new in package, that's good too. So my 2 exceptions to the rule are, if you can find Universal Monsters or something, a sequel to something that's out right now currently, or a full set, those work well with Happy Meal toys. Otherwise, I would avoid Happy Meal toys if you can. Okay, number 4 on my list, and this is one might be for some. You might say, you know what, that doesn't make any sense. Number 4 on my list is neckties. I've really not done well with ties at all. And I've had literally probably like 500 in my inventory at one point. And I must have just bought the wrong ones. I got them. I think I got most of those at next to nothing from the bins in the Bay Area. And and they weren't in bad shape. They weren't new, but they weren't in bad shape. Some of them had some pretty cool designs, some brands I'd heard of, and they just sat. I sold a handful, maybe 6, 7. I think I sold one for $50. It was a college tie. It was, I think, in Nebraska. Is it Nebraska? I think it was. I can't remember exactly which college. It was a college tie, though. And that sold for $50, and I've sold 3 or 4 for $10 to $20. One of those was a Trump tie, and then I can't remember the other ones. I wouldn't even remember the brand. It was just some random brand. The rest sat, and I don't think I listed all 400 or 500, whatever I had. I listed maybe a couple hundred, and I just got really, really bored of ties, even though they're really light, really cheap, really easy to list, and really easy to ship. They weigh next to nothing. It wasn't for me. So I'm sure there's people out there that sold ties and done really well. If you have that volume, you can do it. So for me personally, it was a no-go, even though I'm sure some of you have done really well. I guess I have heard of exceptions. For me, I don't have an exception to the rules that, other than maybe that Trump tie or college type tie, I've heard about, people getting super high end brands like Hermes and selling it for crazy amounts of money. I've never found one. So, and I would also be pretty freaked out about, getting it. I mean, I guess you can get it checked out, verified, see if it's legit or not. But so I guess those would be my exceptions. Something that really stands out, maybe something that's trending, maybe something, you never know. But ties for me are just not my thing. So last on my list for today, number 5, the fifth thing that I really don't pick up anymore to sell are printers, computer printers. I used to sell a fair amount of them, I would say. I used to do a lot more FBA. I used to send a lot more electronics to FBA and some to eBay, especially if they were missing something, missing a manual, box, etc., or they just were not in great shape. But I used to be able to sell a fair. Now, this isn't something I sold a ton of, but I sold enough of them to where I would look for them when I went into a thrift store, wherever, a garage sale. I started to see people sending them back, though. And for me, the kicker was I had one that was, I thought, really, really, really good shape. I sold it on eBay as opposed to Amazon only because I think it was missing the manual or something. But I had tested it, it worked, it printed. The guy sent it back, and he had replaced the paper tray with one that didn't even really fit. So it was like jammed in there. So I thought, okay, first look, I thought, okay, maybe in the box when he shipped it back, he just, it got jammed somehow. It was almost a different color. It was kind of like this brownish, beigeish color when the printer was gray. So that really annoyed me. Second thing, eBay sided with the buyer, and they said, it is what it is. He didn't leave me negative feedback, thankfully, but he sent me back another printer, which sucks, and it's pretty unethical, but I guess could have been worse. Anyways, that was part of the reason. I mean, that wasn't the only reason. I did get a few returns on printers. On FBA, when you get a return, it's pretty common. They get things trashed when they're sent back to you because they don't always box things very well. And so I wouldn't have expected that if it was on FBA, but this was from eBay, and very specific pictures and everything, description, and still, so I was out that money. So for me, printers, and I do have a couple of exceptions to the rule. Not always that I pick up to sell, though. I mean, I like smaller printers, like Dymo, if you can get those Rolos. Those sell pretty well. Obviously, if they're new in box, on Amazon, FBA, that type of thing, that's a no-brainer. And a lot of the newer printers do sell, even Brother does really well. I have a Brother printer. And I used to overlook those at first, but those do really, really well. But one kind of odd one that I didn't buy to sell, I didn't even buy it. I just went with my friend. He asked me to come and help him move a printer because he found one. This is somewhere in Cupertino near San Jose, or in San Jose. It was this giant banner poster type printer. And it really was big. I'm guessing it looked like the size of a couch. It was probably made to print banners that are like 6, 8, 10 feet. I don't even know. But we looked this thing up online, brand new. It went for, I think, like $5,000 or something ridiculous like that. And it was a heavy son of a gun. It took us, 2 of us, and we were struggling. The guy helped us move it into his pickup truck. So we were able to move it that way. So if you need that kind of printer, or if you can store it because it's big, or you have the ability to wait on something like that, because not everyone needs an industrial sized banner printer. Those are something to look out for. By look out for, I would say like Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, OfferUp, local, because buying one of those and paying for the shipping would be pretty bad. But if you need it, or if you want to flip it, if you're into that kind of like larger items, industrial size printers would be something to look out for. That would be my exception to the rule for buying printers. And I guess my main thing with printers is it's very easy to say there's something wrong with it and send it back. And I wanted to stay away from that as much as I could. Anyways, long story short, that is my list for today of 5 items that I do not really source anymore. I'll probably do a list of 5 items that I do like to source right now in the future. But please, 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 if possible, if you can leave us a rating on Apple or anywhere you're listening to this, that would really help. And also, we would love to hear from you. Any comments, any messages, questions that you might have. You can leave it on our Anchor page, anchor.fm/reseller_niche. And then leave us a message, voice message. Might play it on the air, or at least we'll read out the question if you don't want us to play it. So anyways, until the next one, thank you for listening. And thanks for listening to Reseller Niche. Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Reseller Niche Podcast. Show notes and social media links are located at resellerniche.com. Please comment, rate, and subscribe to us on iTunes or YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.